Hi, everyone, and welcome to Words and Music. My name is Loretta Alabons. Today on the show, I speak to Carl Westerberg, better known by his stage name Manila Luzon, American drag queen, recording artist, and reality television personality. Best known for his appearance in competing in the third season of RuPaul's Drag Race and the first and fourth season of RuPaul's Drag Race All Stars. I decided to catch up with Manila Luzon to find out what is keeping him busy during the pandemic and tea-worthy stories on Michelle Visage's absence during the 2016 tour of the Battle of the Seasons Extravaganza Tour. So let's take a listen to our conversation.
How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. And how about yourself?
Fantastic.
You look great.
Oh, just not wearing pants though. So things are pretty cool here in Los Angeles.
Okay, is it what everyone says they're not wearing pants during these Skype interviews?
Well, I'm a drag queen, so I got a full, sequin gown underneath this with high heels and fishnet stockings for sure.
Is that your trophy room?
I'm in my drag room or my drag closet.
At some point during our conversation, let us see your drag wardrobe.
Oh, no. This is the only clean corner of my drag room.
What's keeping you busy, Manila?
I have been spending the last month or so in the mode of waiting this thing out.
I got it.
Once the lockdown started happening back in March, all of my drag gigs, I travel for my gigs. Most of them, all of them were either postponed or canceled. So then we moved to a digital, live digital shows, which is a lot of fun because, everyone is starting to get into the idea of doing FaceTimes and Zoom calls and Skypes. And it's all a very different experience without the interaction of the fans, without the exchange of energy. So it's a different thing. But now it's I'm realizing that there's no end in sight for this. I've kind of just been, chilling out a little bit and actually using this time as a much needed break because, I was on RuPaul's Drag Race and a few times, and because of it, I've been traveling around the world, doing shows all over, shooting commercials, TV shows, being on this, cameo on that, cameo on this. And so, and I've been doing it for a really long time. And I'm just God, I need a break. So I'm taking this as a nice sign from God to just sit down and kind of get to focus on other things besides my drag. Although I do, I'm still doing my drag and it's everywhere still.
It's funny that you say that, we all could take a pause for a moment.
I feel I should always be working on something. I should always be doing something. I like to keep myself busy with projects. I'm an artist, so I like to create. But, as an artist, sometimes you need to once you get all those creative juices out, you need to kind of, regrow that energy within inside yourself. And because I was doing so much drag for such a long time, because I was on Drag Race 10 years ago. So I've been doing, drag, at the highest exposure in the world, with Drag Race, being able to sit down and take some time for myself and kind of recharge has been very, 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 very nice. And the thing it's great about it is that the whole world is experiencing this pandemic in some way. So there's no guilt that I feel that I have to be doing something. I have to be accomplishing something because there's no one's doing anything really. No one's really getting to accomplish the things that they want to do. So I'm learning how to take a slower pace and, kind of absorb the little things a little bit more, get into the stop and smell the roses, as they say.
I totally get it. I totally understand that because, we are suffering the same fate as well, Manila. we're doing a lot of shows. It's the constant need of, to do something, to put a show on sale, to do the promotions, to do the advertising, to keep the online community engaged. And thus, the fact came this whole idea for us as a promoter to say, how are we going to feed our fans now that we have no shows to promote? And thus, Manila came this idea for Words and Music.
It's a different time now. And I feel like we've spent a lot of energy like establishing ourselves in a certain way. But now the whole world has been turned upside down. And, now it's like up to us to find the new creative ways to be entertainers, to be who we are. And it's a completely different pace of life now. You can't really plan ahead too much. So, but the one thing that's really good is like a little bit of, you don't have to have it as spectacular anymore. You know what I mean? Like it can be a little bit more subdued. It can be a little bit more like, from your home.
I would have never imagined having this conversation with you. I'm really grateful for it that, we could, do this and, a whole new paradigm.
It's up to us to kind of figure out new ways to do the things that we like, which is really cool because drag queens, honestly, especially, I feel like they're always good at that. We're used to taking trash and making it into like, $1 million outfits. And, we also don't take ourselves seriously. So like, if we have to do, a live digital drag show in our, pajamas, from our living room, that's kind of fine. Like that's like a new way of performing. So I guess it's kind of different. And, like in the beginning, it was definitely hard for sure. Because, also like I'm, as a person who's out in the public, I mean, I'm not like a huge movie star, but like, I still have like a lot of, people like that, strangers that, follow me and whatever. The first thing that was kind of like scary for me was, filming and doing these live things and showing myself from my own home, because to me, that's like my private space that I get to like go back to. After I'm like on stages, on sets and whatever, I can come back and just kind of be in my home. So that's something I had to get over, but I'm over it now. And I also think that, watching any kind of like talk show on TV that's still kind of going on, like everyone's like doing Zoom calls and that kind of vibe. So now I think that like, okay, we're used to seeing our celebrities are, in their own hair and makeup. It's a little different. So I feel like honestly, drag queens still have a head up. They're a leg up on real actual like movie stars who are used to like sitting in a makeup chair and having some like, talented people do their hair and wigs and makeup for them. Now it's like, oh, okay, well, Charlize Theron. It's beautiful, but she's stuck up doing her own makeup. And we drag queens, we already do our own makeup. So we're really good.
That's right. You do your own makeup. You sew your own clothes. You do your own hair.
Yeah. And now we're our own tech people. We have to like, we have to figure out our own lighting, our own ring lights and our cameras, our microphones. We have to press play and then like jump in front of the camera. So it's a completely different experience. But we drag queens, we're jack of all trades.
Absolutely. Now, with all this free time on your hand, Manila, did you, watch the All Stars 5?
Oh my gosh, yeah. Well, I'm so happy that during this quarantine, we've had just nonstop drag race. I watched all of season 12. I watched all of All Stars 5, and now I'm currently watching Canada's Drag Race. So we're like halfway through that. So like I've been really, really enjoying it. It's like the one thing that's kind of been like my savior throughout this. Like I always like, okay, every week I have Drag Race to look forward to. But we're halfway through Canada's Drag Race. So like after that, I don't know what we're going to do. we're gonna have to find something else to watch.
I watched your season, the All Stars 4. I binge watched it.
Oh yeah.
I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it so much. And we want to come to that a little bit later. What did you think of Shea Coulee winning All Stars 5?
I kind of suspected that Shea Coulee was going to do very well. And I thought, yeah, for sure, like she was definitely the front runner coming in, I thought, because watching her on season 9, she was fantastic. And I knew that she has like the fashion. She's very in tune with what's going on in the world. Like she's doing it much better than most drag queens like out there working. So I had a feeling. I was rooting for my friend Jujubee the whole time, though, because I've known Jujubee, and as like as an Asian drag queen, I'm always supporting the Asian drag queens. Like I don't even care if they are terrible. I'm like, they're already you're Asian, okay, you're at the top of my list. But yeah, I was definitely rooting for Jujubee just because we're close friends and we've been working together. Since she was on RuPaul's Drag Race season 2, so. I was rooting for Jujubee as well. So I was very happy when Shea Coulee. I think she was well deserved for the crown.
Manila, I want to just go back and talk about your early days in drag. And when did you have an interest in and with drag?
Well, to be honest, I've always loved playing dress up. Like I loved like Halloween. I loved the idea of like theater and like putting on costumes, and I love live performance. So as a child, that was always something that kind of like was part of like my play. Like that's how I would play. Would like dress up and kind of make believe, and then I would also draw a lot because before I wanted to do any of this, I wanted to be an artist. So I would always draw. And I used to like draw pictures of like costumes and fabulous hair. And so even as a child, I would go into my mom's walk-in closet downstairs and I would like find, because she didn't throw anything away. Like she had stuff from the 60s and 70s, every outfit like just jam-packed in this place. And I would pull out her coats and her dresses, and I would try them on. And then, like there was a time that I was like the same size as my mother when she was like a petite young 20-something, so that's kind of where it started. And then when I came out of the closet and was like, I'm like, okay, I'm gay now.
How old were you when you came out from the closet?
I came out around 20 years old. 20 years old. I feel like at the time I felt like I had waited way too long to come out. And it was like time to come out. But like looking back at it now, like I'm almost twice my age when I came out. So it's like, okay, I guess I was ready when I was ready. So I came out, but it was difficult for me when I first came out. So what I ended up doing was like, well, I guess now I don't have to like pretend, and I can, everyone knows I'm gay now, so no harm in wearing a dress and a wig. So honestly, like that's when I first started taking drag very seriously. I came up with my name, Manila Luzon, to honor my mother's home place. I kind of used drag as my creative way to kind of just like get myself into this like gay world or this like gay lifestyle in a way. And it really helped me kind of like come to terms with who I was. I grew up never really feeling like I was very attractive. And so being able to, put on, like paint my face and change up my hair and change the shape of my body, even with corsets and padding, it was something that was like very liberating. And then when I took it all off, I still felt beautiful. So drag really helped define who I was. So it's been something that I've been doing for such a long time. And I owe a lot of my personality to the fact that I decided to do drag.
That's wonderful. It's very inspiring. So I just hope that, other young people out there, or not even young people, people who are still middle aged and still, afraid to, admit or say, come out and say things. So, I hope this conversation inspires people not to be shameful or afraid.
There's something very scary about just even the idea that your family won't accept who you are, or the fact that like you have something wrong with you from what your family is expecting from you, and it can weigh a lot on you. What I found is that, yeah, it might be hard for your family to accept in the beginning. Ultimately, everyone in my family, I just want them to be happy with who they are. Because like once you find out who you are, like it suddenly nothing really matters, like I feel like it's something that's this like aha moment when you are just like, this is who I am with all of my flaws included, and then it's like, oh, okay, so now that I have accepted and I'm acknowledging these parts of myself, nothing can hurt me. So no one can say, oh, you're gay, or use any kind of derogatory term of that to me, because I'm like, yeah, you're absolutely right. Call me whatever horrible thing you want to say to me. We can bleep it out. But like, yeah, I'm fine with that. I'm cool with that. You're I'm not hiding it. But yeah, I find it really great to see people coming out younger and younger, and to have families and mothers and fathers being supportive, even edging on their kids to like, hey, you wanna come out? Before it was like, oh, if you saw that your kid was kind of gay, you would yell at them and say, no, don't do that. And now it's like, oh, if you kind of start to suspect that your child is gay, you're like, hey, so we're gonna watch Drag Race sometime.
That's the thing that breaks it all, right?
Drag Race for sure. That's how my husband kind of like he had his introduction, and a lot of that with his father was through Drag Race.
Your husband is Michael?
My husband's Michael. He's born in the Bronx, Puerto Rican, Chilean descent. So, we all have our own stories that somehow tie into RuPaul's Drag Race.
So back when you were, starting out, there was not many people you could, look up to for inspirations in drag.
Here in the States, we still don't have like a real proper like Asian pop star. We don't have, Asian representation was something that I didn't get, and gay Asian representation was something that I didn't necessarily get a lot of. So it was very limited to what I could turn to. Mm-hmm. And so honestly, like going on to RuPaul's Drag Race and, representing myself as a gay Asian man, a drag queen, I got to add to pop culture and that. And, honestly, like I've met so many fans who have been inspired by that. And, some are now even fabulous, famous drag queens. So I love that.
That's definitely a great contribution you have, done.
Completely like unexpected, because all I wanted to do was wear glamorous dresses and look pretty and sickening and crack some silly jokes. And that's honestly, I was doing all that for my own sake. And to hear that the side effect is that it's inspiring people all over to, step their game up, not be afraid of, experimenting or being creative or expressing themselves. I think that it's like a fun side effect to like just me going out and just like, wanting to be Manila Luzon.
By the way, I just love the name Manila Luzon. It's such a powerful name. It's just so, it identifies with you, Manila and Luzon.
Yeah,
I know, Luzon is, an island in the Philippines. So, but I think the play of words and how you combine them together just makes it even, it was so exotic.
Well, if I'm naming myself after a city, if a geographic location, I might as well just go full on. You know what I mean? So, uh, yeah, and it has the same amount of syllables as Madonna. Manila has the
Okay.
same amount of syllables as Madonna.
Okay. That's a good one. That's a good one. Manila, what's your story? How did you enter season 3? How was the process like for you for RuPaul's Drag Race?
Well, I always wanted to do drag,
Mm-hmm.
when I came out, and then I moved out to New York City, and I wanted to pursue my drag there. I started out in the gay clubs in Minnesota, where I'm from, and then I moved up to New York City, and it was a very different experience. You know, New York City is very small and compact, and the clubs they're smaller. The drag shows were a lot smaller, so it was something that I didn't pursue professionally at first because for me, getting in drag was like a hobby. I was working as a graphic designer in New York, and even though I had a creative job, I was doing other people's work. So, at the end, I would come home and then I would, work on my costume or my look for some party that I would just attend in full drag and just go out to have a good time. And I would just keep doing that. Like maybe I'd go out and drag maybe once a month in New York City. And then it started becoming a little bit more of a thing. Maybe then it turned into once a week. And then I started making friends with drag queens in New York City. And, I started doing a pageant at a bar, and, started competing in amateur shows and stuff like that. But I wasn't really taking it very seriously, even though it's something that I really loved to do. And I had an image in my mind that as an artist, I just found it so satisfying to create it, and the part of putting it together and making my outfit and painting my face and styling my hair. And then the final product was me being in it. And then I would go get wasted in a club. I'd take a bunch of pictures, and then I would it all fall off. And then I would look back at the pictures and I'd be like, yeah, that was a good, that was a fun time. And then RuPaul's Drag Race came on TV, and it changed the game. It changed how it kind of gave a purpose or a specific reason to do my drag. So then I auditioned for season 3, and then I got on, and then it was okay. And I'm very happy that I was able to get on season 3, because in the beginning it was a very different TV show than it is now. I think now it's higher expectations, bigger audiences, the bar has been raised. And so when you go back into the show nowadays, you have to be very, very you have to come in there with full strategies and, costumes, and take out a loan so you could afford to get costumes custom made for you. But yeah, it was Drag Race that really kind of started my career. Up until that point, I was being a guest performer on some show in a small gay bar. But now I was going onto TV and doing a reality TV show that was about drag. So it was I was a drag queen, but I really wasn't a working drag queen. So I kind of just was able to kind of try to figure it out, because it's not just a drag pageant. It's a reality TV show. Yeah. So you have to kind of make good TV. What do I like when I watch reality TV? Okay, let me try being silly and falling over and getting into a fight with someone and having a fun time doing it all with glitter and wigs.
You mentioned about reality TV, so there's there's the dancing element, the makeup element, a lot of drama within it. Is it a scripted show or unscripted show?
It's a completely unscripted show. I mean, there are parts where they'll give you a script, oh, we're gonna do the skit, so you have to learn some lines. But I don't know. It's reality TV, so it isn't a documentary about our lives as drag queens. It's kind of like, if you think about it, it's like, okay, you have to think of it as like a one of those shows where you have like a, you have a bunch of athletes trying to like go over monkey bars, and then they have to like try not to fall in the water, and be a gladiator, and like they have to do that kind of stuff. So the television show definitely does kind of set the parameters that you have to kind of go through, and you have to dodge these things, and they're throwing twists at you. So there are elements that have some control, but like it's kind of random. They don't know how we're going to react. That's what makes it very interesting. So
you don't know about in All Stars 4 when the 4 queens came back, the eliminated queens returned. Am I right to say you didn't know that was going to happen?
No, I didn't know it was going to happen. I mean, you can always suspect things, having watched, the show has been on the air now for over like 12 years now, or 15 years. We've had like 15, 16 seasons, or the spin-off shows. So we all kind of know that there's always the possibility of like, oh, someone could be brought back, there's like a twist, someone gets disqualified, you have to do, who knows what's going to go on. So yeah, I think it's always kind of like a, you never know what's going to happen.
When you're in the workroom, how do you concentrate when you have cameras all around you? I mean, how does that work? I mean, you have to do your costumes, you have to do your makeup, you have to prepare for your skits, you have to do your lip sync, practice your lip sync battle, right? The songs that you're going to lip sync to. How does it work when you have a camera with a group? I mean, a camera crew.
Well, it actually makes it a lot easier because, we're all drag queens and we love attention. So you point a camera at a drag queen, she's going to give you a show. That's just how it works. I don't know if it's true for everyone, like when you put a camera in front of them, but like for us drag queens, that's when we turn on. And when the camera guy says, okay, I'm going to go on my break, we just stop talking. It's not hard to understand. I mean, when you have a camera in front, you're going to like ham it up for the camera. You wouldn't usually you only get into fights with your other drag queens if there's a camera pointed at you. There's been times when you kind of start getting into a heated argument with another queen, and you look over and you realize that the cameraman is not pointed at you, and you have to be, hey, we're about to fight over here. Why don't you like look at us for a while? I mean, it's kind of one of those things. Like as you do it, and I've done it several times now because I was on 3 seasons of it. You forget that the camera's there when you're doing it. But you also never forget the camera's there because, obviously, like, when I watch it back, I want to have, like, a good angle. So you always know where to look, right?
And you enjoy it. You seem just to enjoy it, all the time. So it's your 3rd time, right?
Yeah, that's where you get to shine. That's where you get to be whoever you are. And it's crazy. It heightens emotions, especially, too. So, like, when you feel like screaming, you scream. When you feel like crying, you almost feel like, yeah, well, I'm feeling these emotions. And if I hold them in, no one watching is going to understand what I'm going through. So let me just let it out. So when I'm having a good time, I'm having a good time. When I'm sitting there crying because I feel bad, it's because I feel bad. And when you're getting into a fight with someone, it's because you want to just get that out. I mean, you could get all zen and be like, okay, it's not going to bother me.
The episode that you were eliminated, you had your husband perform in drag, and both of you performed a Judy Garland song. Now, as you look back, Manila, what could you have done differently for the Judy challenge to have avoided the elimination?
All I know is that, like, when I was there, I knew I'm very familiar with my husband's face, so I just wanted to make sure that he was beautiful. And I think that I did a great job. I think that his makeup looked amazing and stunning. I don't know. I honestly, like, I don't think that I could have done anything differently because, like, maybe the costumes weren't what they wanted from me. But it was at that point, it was too late. I was already there, already brought the costumes. So I couldn't really, do anything about it. It's not like I could just run out to a store and go shopping for the both of us to get a cuter outfit. But no, I mean, I thought that our concept was good, and I think that our presentation was great. And, I think that when we did our little Judy dance, it was a fun time. And I think that in my experience, I think that what I was portraying was our truth. Having people get to see me and my husband interact was very special for me. One of the things that having your husband come into the episode, into the workroom with you, is that, when we're filming this show, we're like sequestered. They take away your phones, your laptops, and anything that you do is just Drag Race, so for the time that you're filming the season, the only thing you're thinking about is RuPaul's Drag Race. So to have my husband come back, it was a lot of fun, but also like what opened up the window, and I all of a sudden realized that, oh yeah, like I'm in a bubble right now, and there's a whole world that's happening outside, and that once this bubble's over, I get to go back out into that world and be, be myself in the real world without being in this confined, like on the sound stage or being sequestered in my hotel with the same people. So I think that a little bit of my concentration and focus was, I was not as focused as much, but I don't know. I couldn't have asked for a better way to go out, because especially because like my husband was actually there in the space, so that like I didn't have to pack up all my stuff alone. He was very helpful, and he did all the packing while I kind of was just like, I can't believe this happened. Oh my gosh.
Did you expect somehow, during that season that you would have been brought back somehow, a twist? I mean, did you think at the back of your mind what was going through RuPaul's head? And maybe, because I think RuPaul was kind of surprised that, you were eliminated. So did you think there could be a slight chance or a possibility?
I didn't think so, because we already had the episode where we brought the queens back. So if I was to be brought back, I would have had to be kicked off the show a lot sooner. And it got to that point where I knew that if I ever landed in the bottom, that I knew going into the season of All Stars as a queen who already did a season of All Stars, because I was on the first season of All Stars with Latrice Royale. I already knew coming in that I was a larger threat and a bigger target for queens, On season 1 of All Stars, it was still the judges that sent us home. But now the format had changed where we send each other home. It was just in the back of my head all the time that if I was ever in the bottom, I would probably be sent home, because I'm not an idiot. I knew I was kicking ass. In fact, in the beginning of the season, I was holding back a lot in the first few episodes because I didn't want to come in too strong, because, so I didn't want to paint a bigger target on my back. So I even held back a little bit. So yeah, it was one of those things where I always knew that, like, if I was ever going to be in the bottom, like, I mean, I would have voted myself out. I thought I would have voted myself out too. So I don't blame anyone for it.
Manila, when you joined the competition, what expectations did you have of yourself?
Well, first of all, I had no idea that I would even be able to come back and compete, because having done season 3, and then a few years later being asked to be an All-Star on the first season of All Stars, I thought, like, okay, this is like, now I am being recognized not only as, a fabulous drag queen, not only as, the runner-up of my season, but now I'm considered an all-star, one of the favorites from the last 4 seasons of Drag Race. Like, because All Stars happened after season 4. So they had 4 seasons to choose from for the girls. So I felt honored to be part of that. So then a few years later, like, it took a few more seasons before they did All Stars 2, and then they started doing an All Star season kind of like every year. So we have so many drag queens that have been on the show. Some of them are amazing, and there are some queens that I'm just dying to see more of. So when I was asked to be back on the show, I thought, did everyone else say no? Like, why are you asking me? Like, I already was an all-star. I'm fine. So, I guess like when I went back, enough time had passed between when I was first on my seasons, because season 3 and All Stars happened fairly close to each other. And now several years have passed. The show has been moved from like the Logo network to the larger network VH1 in America.
And then it got onto Netflix, Manila.
And then it's been on Netflix, so it's all over the world. And I was just really excited that I would have another opportunity to come back on the show, having myself as a drag queen grow so much, but also to come back onto the show, which has grown so much. The show's winning Emmys at that point. I mean, it's like part of pop culture vernacular. We have people quoting the show that you wouldn't think would actually be would watch drag, but now it's just like integrated so much into pop culture. So getting to go back onto the season was a fantastic opportunity. So I jumped at the opportunity, and because I've been working so hard, and since I was on the show, I had a lot of growth to show with my style. And also had saved up a lot of more money, so I had a little bit more of a budget. And honey, I spent a fortune on my costumes and my wigs and my jewelry, and even my boy clothes were expensive. So I just wanted to put my best foot forward, because I knew that this opportunity doesn't come very often. How many people can say lightning strikes 3 times? And then also having lost the show 2 times before, like there was no, the pressure's off, because I feel like I'm doing big things and I haven't even won the show. It doesn't matter if you win the show. So that's kind of like where I came from. Like if I got kicked off first, I was going to make it a memorable experience, and I was going to do like the most I could in the given time that I had. So that's kind of how I went into it. I didn't have to win the show, but the money would have been nice. I made that money up, on my own accord. Like I don't have to get handouts from famous drag queens.
Absolutely.
I can go out there and earn it myself.
Absolutely. You
And
earned
honestly,
it. You've earned it. Manila, with all your amazing talent. You got a comedy side, I have to say. So is comedy something you're gonna go into, you think?
Oh, well, I do love to make jokes, and I like to be funny. I mean, definitely. I think that's the coolest thing about, being on the show was the fact that, so now you're going to be a news reporter now. Oh, I never thought I would be delivering news. I never thought that I'd be reading a teleprompter. I never thought that I would be the person that would be interviewing celebrities. I didn't expect to be, kind of think like, oh, well, it's just putting on makeup, doing a little dance and a lip sync number. That's what you thought. But now I'm like, okay, now I'm doing more. On All Stars, they had us interior decorating. Now, I could make that a whole business if I wanted to. We do these acting challenges on RuPaul's Drag Race. And now I'm auditioning for roles on TV. And I'm doing a guest spot on General Hospital, soap opera, and I'm doing a cameo on AJ and the Queen on Netflix with RuPaul. It's a lot of fun. Like, and I'm doing things that I never thought that I would ever get to do, but because of RuPaul's Drag Race, I get to do it. So, I mean, who knows what other opportunities come along? It's kind of cool.
Definitely. And you got a podcast now with Latrice Royale.
Yes, I got a podcast now. And I never thought ever that I don't even listen to podcasts. And people are saying, hey, so we want you to do a podcast. It's actually Alaska and Willem. They are, they're starting their own podcast, company, umbrella company, and through the success of their own 2 podcasts, like now we're branching out, and so we're creating more jobs for the sisters. And it's easy for me, like, to go and recap an episode of Drag Race. I was the host of Pit Stop last year for season 11. So like this is like an easy thing to do.
How did you team up with Latrice Royal on this podcast? Can you tell us about it?
Well, I mean, Latrice and I have always been close, because when we were on All Stars the first season, when they made us choose partners, and Latrice and I were partners, and that honestly was like the greatest thing that I got out of the first season of All Stars, was forging this friendship with someone who's very different from me, but is also very similar to me, and we have totally different lives, but we just can come together and have a good old time. We had collaborated on a few songs together. We did our song "The Chop," which our podcast is named after, and then on my latest record, "Rules," which came out after All Stars, she was featured on my song "The Chop," and then like last month, I had dropped the video for that, which was like a fully animated video, which took over a year to make. Mm-hmm. So like, it's just like my little track with her. So yeah, I love working with her, and we were always FaceTiming and kikiing anyway, so we might as well like put a microphone, record it, and make some money.
And you mentioned about that animated music video. It was just phenomenal. I enjoyed it. Robbed, right?
It was a fun experience because I didn't have to get in drag to shoot this music video, because someone just drew the whole thing, It took a long time to do it, but, like with Latrice, and like she lives on the other side of the country. She lives in Florida. I'm in Los Angeles in California. And we're busy. We're both touring around the world on our own schedules, so it's hard to get us together. It was hard enough just to get her to come into the studio to record her part of the track. So to do a music video was going to be difficult. And the idea of my music video was just so complex, because I wanted it to be like this full-on adventure. So decided that we would make it an animated video. I like to keep my nice girl image, even though I can be very shady. I wanted to explore my villainous side. Like I always like kind of tend to lean towards like the villain. Like I'm more of an Ursula fan than I am of an Ariel fan in The Little Mermaid. I love, how evil Jafar is in Aladdin. I kind of love the fact that now we have movies like Maleficent, which kind of focuses on the bad guy. Or like movies like Birds of Prey with Harley Quinn. Like we are now making our hero like the anti-hero. So I wanted to try something with that. And I thought that, like I wanted to play a character, but it's really, really hard for people to kind of make a distinction between me as a person and me as a character, because I'm kind of already playing a character, but that character is kind of myself in a way. So I'm not acting as someone. I'm kind of like, it's complicated. So I wanted to be a badass villain. I wanted to go on a freaking like robbery and heist with an adventure.
Maybe your manager can pitch it to Disney or something, We're
kind of in the works. I mean, everyone now wants like to like see like the movie now, or the cartoon series. So it's something that definitely is up in the air right now and in talks. So hopefully, yeah, fingers crossed, legs crossed.
You've just, one talented queen for sure. One talented queen. And, I don't know whether you recall, but in 2016, we had you out here in Singapore.
Yes, for RuPaul's Drag Race Battle of the Seasons. Yes. I see the poster right there.
Yeah.
That was my second time in Singapore. That was the last time I was in Singapore. I need to come back.
What was your first reaction when you heard that the tour was coming to Singapore, the Battle of the Seasons tour?
I had already been to Singapore a year or two beforehand, so I was very excited to go back. And I was also very excited to go with my Drag Race sisters. because I'm not from Singapore, but whenever I go to Asia, I just feel like I'm this much closer and I have this much more understanding of like my heritage and where I come from and my Filipino background. So getting to go to Asia is a lot of fun. And I felt really honored to be able to share that with my Drag Race sisters, because I know most of them hadn't been there. A lot of queens don't come out to Singapore, so it was really exciting to go out there. And y'all rolled out the red carpet. It was we got to descend from the big staircase.
Oh my God, you remember that?
All of our adoring fans, they're waiting and clapping as we came down like Rose in the Titanic, just down those grand staircase of the theater. It was a lot of fun. It was great to experience an audience from a completely different culture, and to see how far our reach is. It goes across the world, and it's amazing.
It was one of the best times I had for me.
Oh,
I had
fantastic.
so much fun, Manila. I still remember you coming down, the stairs. It was such, I still have such good memories, of that time. It was such an impactful, we didn't even, at that time, RuPaul's Drag Race was not even on television, on the network.
Yeah, and I've been touring for a long time into different countries, and it's not an uncommon story for me, because I've always been hearing like, y'all don't even have this show airing in your country. It's not in Netflix. Everyone has to like watch it from some like dark web underground like link, and it feels great to have such a dedicated fan base, and to go to a completely different country where everything is different is amazing to see that drag is a common denominator and that we can relate to it. And that's like the first step into seeing how much we are similar with each other.
I don't know whether you recall, but when we kind of started promoting the tour, we had Michelle Visage on the artwork, and we kind of promoted her along with the other queens. And I was looking back at all the correspondences and all our social media posts, and suddenly, at some point, Michelle Visage dropped off from the tour. So I didn't know whether she was supposed to be on the tour.
Yeah, she was supposed to be on the tour. There was times that we were doing some of our shows that we were like, should we still be? I think there was maybe like some mass shootings or something. I'm not.
Oh yeah, sure. The club, the Pulse Club, right?
Oh, it was Pulse. That's what it was.
Yes, I remember. We were shocked.
It was a huge, devastating thing that shook us to our core.
Mm-hmm.
It was Pulse because
in June it happened. I guess I remember it was June.
It happened right before we came out.
Yeah,
and that was a big deal for us because we all knew people that lost their lives, and it scared a lot of us because we've created this fantasy bubble that we all live in, and we've created this safe space that we invite anyone off the street. Come on in, see this drag show. Come on into our club. We're the people that got shit on by society, so we'll accept anyone. So come on into our space and let's all have fun for one night. Let's just drink, party, do drag, make out a little bit. And then this disaster happened, and all of a sudden, like, we get scared. I think that's kind of what it kind of broke up the tour a little bit, and we almost didn't even do the show. It was just so hard for us to process, and we didn't know what to do, and we didn't know if we could celebrate and we could party anymore, and it just shook us all to our center, and it made us reevaluate a lot of things. And I think that's really when Michelle Visage stopped hosting the tour. Unfortunately for our Singapore audience, we didn't get Michelle Visage, but we did have Ginger Minj host. She was fantastic because she's such a good host, and we still had a good time. And And because Michelle Visage was a vegan, we actually didn't have to worry about her dietary restrictions anymore. So we got to like go to Singapore and just eat whatever we wanted to without having, Michelle Visage's strict diet to worry about.
And then, after we broke the news that Michelle couldn't make it for the tour, we had to break the news of some of Queens falling off the tour. Alaska couldn't come, and Pandora. I think Pandora also did not make it.
And it's always a problem. There's I think someone's passport was expiring and it didn't allow enough time for Singapore. You guys are very strict out there.
6 months.
You have a beautiful country, so you guys want to make sure that no one's trying to sneak in. I think there was some passport issues, and that's just like stuff that we, since it was our first time taking the tour out to Singapore, there's a lot of things that we don't plan for or think of, and we're all busy queens, and we try really hard to put a good show on it, and of course, also the tours, the queens, we were alternating different cities, like the cast would change a little bit, so it was, for us, it was just like an unfortunate event when we came out to Singapore. But for me, it made me like try harder to make up for the fact that you didn't get your Michelle Visage or your Alaska or your Pandora.
Thank you, Manila. Thank you. It really paid off because that was my first introduction to, RuPaul's Drag Race, of bringing a tour. Before that, I think before that only Adore had a small show in a club.
I had come out there like a couple years ahead. I was in that club that's like, the Louis Vuitton store that's in the water?
Right.
What's the club that's right next to it?
Okay, that was, it was used to be known as Avalon.
Avalon. It was Avalon when I went there. And that was so much fun. Oh my gosh. I had so much fun. And then also, like, I think the next day was the Pink Party or what's that event?
Pink Dot.
Pink Dot.
Yeah.
And that was a lot of fun. And I was up in a hotel looking down at the square, looking at all the beautiful lights. And, it was an event that was getting bigger and bigger each year. So I kind of want to go back and see, like, when this is all done and over with, like, how much brighter Pink Dot is going to be. I was really, really excited to come back to Singapore, because there weren't that many queens. So I was really happy that we all got to come in there with a big show. And now I think Work the World tour comes through there. Mm-hmm. So now it's like, it's like old, but like to be the first, it's really fun to kind of pave the way.
It was really game changing, and then it led the way for other, queens to come out, because then we knew there was an audience. It was not something that, I only liked and I bought the show. So, Manila, it was just, I'm grateful for that opportunity. I'm really grateful.
I mean, drag is such like a wonderful thing that I think a lot of people can kind of get into, because it is really glamorous. It doesn't take itself seriously, because you're like, oh, that's like a dude in a dress, It's inspiring to see what you can, how you can make nothing look like $1 million. It's fun to play in the fantasy. It's fun to play with makeup and hair, and it inspires, the audience as well. And there's nothing like going to a live drag show. There's nothing like it in the world. And to go there and also see like some of the local drag queens coming to support, like that's exciting, because, I've done that where I've come to a city, or a country, and I see the local queens, and, and then when I come back, like they're the stars. They're the ones hosting the show next, so it's cool to see. I can't wait to come back to Singapore when it's safe to finally.
Yes, definitely. This whole, the show, when we put it out, you're going to get, the fans excited for the future.
Yeah. And until then, we're still doing, drag shows. It's just a little different. It's just like on your phone. It's on your computer. You're streaming it live now. It's a different experience, but it's still a great experience because, like drag queens, we don't have the stage anymore at the bar or the club. So now our homes are our stage. And we as drag queens, we're not just, putting on a wig and stepping on stage. No, we're putting on a wig and making backdrops in our houses. We're buying little like lights that flash so that when we're performing, it feels like a club. We just want to make sure that we love to have an audience, and we really appreciate the people that tune in to our Facebook lives or our digital drag shows. And before RuPaul's Drag Race, you would have to go to a gay nightclub. Then it was like, now you can watch it on your TV. Then it was like, oh, you can go to a theater and watch a full production.
Last year, the New York magazine ranked you number 19 in their top 100 drag race superstar. What was your reaction to that?
Yeah, I do remember that. It's fine. I know that like we came into existence for a lot of people in a competition setting. So I feel like it's really hard for us to kind of shake that down after the fact. So to always being compared to each other in this kind of like fight for, the top is always kind of something that we can't get away from. So, when you do get on a list, as long as you're not the last one, I feel like I'm a winner. And the fact that I'm in top 20, I feel very honored. And, I'm not everyone's top 19, I'm actually number one in some people's mind. Mm-hmm. And some people I'm the last on their list. So I guess it's all about who's publishing it, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
But it's always an honor. Anytime I can get in a magazine, I am so happy. In fact, actually, it was right after RuPaul's Drag Race Battle of the Seasons in Singapore when several of us queens did a photo shoot for Singapore's Harper's magazine.
Right. Yes. I remember that.
And that was a fantastic day and a fantastic shoot. And we got to wear some really high-end expensive clothes. Like I'm a drag queen, so I'm used to wearing, the same sequin dress that's falling apart and, smells like my sweat and perfume. And to put on like these, glamorous outfits, from the highest end designers was such a treat. And to get to do a photo shoot with some of my queens and a bunch of professional models who were all, I think, under 20 years old. It was crazy. It was a lot of fun. And in America, no one's putting us on in magazines. So when we come to Singapore and we're being put in a legitimate fashion magazine, it was definitely a highlight of my career. And it was in Singapore. It was a lot of fun. We all got to have like our little moment. And we had like some very, very beautiful young ladies who like, and I don't photograph next to women because women are just so beautiful, and these models were gorgeous, and I felt like a giant 7-foot tall truck driver next to them. But it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun to like be there and like have a little party and have it photographed for this shoot for Harper's.
Just final words for your fans in Asia.
I feel like I'm not going to get to see my fans in Asia for a while, but I'm so excited to return. Until then, I want everyone to please be safe and to stay healthy, and to make the best out of the situation, and still, be creative. I know like the world outside is crazy. Social media is not a true representation of the outside world, even though that's all we have, I feel like. But I can't wait to come back and to get to share in the energy of the fans out there in Asia. It's my favorite place to go. I feel like I'm at home, even though I don't live there or I'm even from Singapore. But it's just lovely to come, and I can't wait. So hopefully, kids, I'll see you soon.
Manila, thank you so much for allowing us, this opportunity to chat with you. And we wish you all the best. And we definitely look forward to having you when things resume.
For sure, put me at the top of the list, or at least top 20.
Definitely. Well, there you have it. I hope you enjoyed our conversation with Manila Luzon. And we wish Manila all the best for her future endeavors. And we hope to bring her to Singapore very soon. Now, if you enjoy watching the show and you would like regular updates, you can follow us at wordsandmusic.com and also at lacomedylive.com. We also have this version of the show on a podcast, which you can find on Spotify, Apple, and Google Podcast. So until next time, for Words and Music, my name is Loretta Alabons. Thank you.